Hi, everyone. Best PR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is a daily NBA show that we've been doing with Troy West from allplayswin.com. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, the last day of the NBA regular season, and we got 14 games on the card. And I did my research for this one. I think I'm seeing a lot of leans. Maybe I'm completely messed up in the head. I think I'm seeing things that have value more. A lot of plays I'm liking here. Troy West from allplayswin.com.
Yeah, you may be messed up in the head. I don't know, but yeah, today. Last day, I'm actually more excited for the NBA playoffs. I do have a pick for you guys today, but boy, it's a tough card again, I think, Pete.
All right, you have just one pick for us. I'm going to be given like maybe 3 or 4. Let's go over all my leans. You can respond as you like. I have a feeling that everything I say, you're going to say, well, you make a good argument, Pete. It's the last day of the NBA regular season. I think you're a little screwed in the head if you feel really confident about your leans on this day, but let's start off with Portland, Dallas. You know, both these teams are in the playoffs. Both these teams are having injury issues. They're, probably going to be going with makeshift lineups tonight. Total is 208. That's a high total. I'm liking the under. These guys don't care about this game. They just want to get it over with, get to the playoffs. What do you think about under 208 Portland, Dallas?
It could be, Pete. You got to understand, is it the offense that's going to lack, or is it the defense that's going to lack?
Right.
It could be a lot of guys just tucking up three-pointers from all over the place. And It does seem a little bit high. We know Chandler Parsons is definitely not playing in that game. He's a guy that could put up 30 in a hurry, so that obviously benefits the under as well. But you know how reckless these guys get in games that don't matter.
Sure.
Will the offense suffer? Will the defense suffer? I think that's the big variable.
Yeah, I hear you. I can see this one being like in the fourth quarter, these guys being like, all right, let's just get this game over with. And, we see a 30-point fourth quarter just because they want to get it over with. But good point. All right, and then another one, the Knicks, we talked about on our last show how it was completely, the perfect example of end-of-the-season NBA stuff was when the Knicks beat the Hawks outright. The Hawks were even playing their starters. They weren't even, resting those guys. The Knicks won outright. The Knicks are kind of playing tough towards the end of the regular season, and right now I'm seeing an 8.5-point underdog line for the Knicks. I actually didn't check the split lines, so I have just a one-line set here, but I'm seeing Knicks plus 8.5 at home against Detroit. And who is Detroit? Why should Detroit be such a huge road favorite against the Knicks when the Knicks seem to be playing hard down to the wire? Knicks plus 8.5. What do you think about that one?
That one looks really good, Pete. That was one that I almost actually released and gave on this show. It actually does look really good. It's actually quite ironic because Derek Fisher is actually taking some heat for actually winning basketball games, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but he's taking some heat there. So will he change his, the way he's been addressing these games, which is playing to win? I doubt it. Like you said, they finally got a little momentum, a little bit of confidence going. Detroit, nothing to speak of. I really like this game. I think this is a good game, Pete.
Yeah, it's a little bit fishy. I wonder why the line is where it is. But you feel free to tail any of these picks, Troy West. They can go on your permanent record if I convince you. And then Charlotte-Toronto. I did see 10 or 10.5 for that one. Toronto's headed towards the postseason, right? Charlotte is done. Ton of injuries all over the court. They did get blown out by double digits a bunch of times over the past few games, and they're going on the road here. Who knows who they're going to play. Maybe they'll play some youngsters who are going to play really tough. But I'm tempted to take Toronto even as a 10-point favorite. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, Charlotte's been abysmal here as of late. Probably one of the better fades when I actually thought they would actually make a better push towards the end. But with Al Jefferson out, this team just looks done. Right. Toronto finally getting healthy. Kyle Lowry getting back. DeMar DeRozan will be playing tonight. This is a team that, Dwayne Casey really had playing well last year. This time they haven't played well. But I think going into the playoffs, they want some momentum. So 10 here could actually be a pretty good bet.
All right, and then another one I was looking at, we've mentioned in the show before how Orlando is a team with a pretty decent roster actually that has been playing teams tough down to the wire, and they've been kind of relishing playing the spoiler role. They've been one of these spoilers at the end of the year, and Brooklyn has faded. They had their playoff destiny in their own hands, and they haven't played well down the stretch. Now they're an 8-point home favorite against Orlando. Orlando isn't really world beaters, but considering how tough they've been playing, how much Brooklyn's been struggling, 8 points maybe a bit too much. Maybe we take Orlando plus 8.
Yeah, Orlando actually looks like a decent bet here, Pete. Anytime you get Orlando as that big of a dog, they can be scary. But, Brooklyn, coming off that horrific beatdown against Chicago in a game that they had to get. But you do got to remember, Brooklyn's still in a position where tonight's game is huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge for them if the Pacers lose. But like you said, they're just not – they're so inconsistent. That's what scares me about Brooklyn. They've had those home games where they have looked like a team that deserves to be in the playoffs. Which Brooklyn team will you get? That I can't tell you. So for me, obviously a pass, but it does look like Orlando could be a good bet.
Yeah, and then another game that's interesting, the Spurs and New Orleans, right? Now, this is an interesting game because the Spurs are playing for the number 2 seed in New Orleans. New Orleans is still playing for their playoff lives. They're a 5.5-point underdog. The total has me scratching my head a little bit. It's 193. Both these teams can score. We know what the Spurs can do. In a game that matters, the Spurs can easily put up, 105, 115, and New Orleans can score as well. They can easily get into the hundreds. 193 seems like a low total. I know both teams are going to be playing defense here because the game matters, but for considering the teams involved, 193, it has me scratching my head. It's almost too low. It makes me feel a little bit fishy. What do you think about the over 193 in Spurs New Orleans?
Well, I actually had an official play on the side for this game, Pete. I had an official play on the side for this one, but the total looks appealing. It does, but I think this is going to be a ground and pound, great NBA basketball game tonight. We know the implications here for the Pelicans. But to me, I'm going to pass on it, and I'll give you official play on the side.
Well, let's get to your official play on the side. I got more leans, Troy West from allplayswin.com.
Okay,
I'll give you my leans in a second, but let's get to your pick right now. I'll check the split lines after we do the call. Right now, I have New Orleans at plus 5.5. What do you like here, Troy?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with New Orleans getting the 5.5, and I think it's dangerous because the Spurs, obviously right now, playing as good as anybody. But this place is going to be rocking tonight, Pete. This is an unbelievable opportunity for this Pelicans team to get it done, get into the playoffs. This is a game that they have to have. They know that Oklahoma City's got the Timberwolves tonight. So this is a dangerous, dangerous game. But, I think what the variable here is obviously still the Spurs, what Spurs team shows up. 5.5 is a lot of points. Even if the Spurs do win this game, I think it's a closer fight. I think Anthony Davis and this Pelican team is going to be ready. This is going to be a playoff atmosphere tonight, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get from the Spurs. They've obviously clinched. Will they play their guys strong for 48 minutes? I don't know. I think it's a big variable, but in the end, I think the Pelicans 5.5 is too many in the applications for this game for them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was one of the sides I was thinking about. The only reason that it's not a lean for me is because, the Spurs have been an absolute ATS machine recently. They just haven't lost against the spread. So what happens if they do come in and play all their top guys at 100%? Then you're going against a team that's been awesome and undervalued game in and game out.
It makes it a tough one, but I think even if that variable does happen, I still think the Pelicans are capable of making this a dogfight. This is, like I said, at home, 5.5-point dog. It looks like a juicy bet here for the Pelicans with the implications. Even if the Spurs do bring their A game, I think it could be a close basketball game.
All right, well, I can understand that. So that's going to be Troy West's only pick for tonight, the New Orleans plus 5.5, and I'll get to some more of my leans here. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on the over 193 on that one, though, because, it's going to be a playoff atmosphere. That's probably why the line is so low. Another low total, though, that I'm leaning under is Washington-Cleveland. Now, we know what Washington did last night, right? That game went way under in overtime, in regulation. It did wind up going slightly over the posted total because it went to double overtime, but Washington, looks like they didn't have much. They're coming off a back-to-back, and Cleveland, they're going to be resting Kyrie Irving. They're in the playoffs. They might play to win, but they're not going to be running up the score here. In light of how Washington's game went last night and Cleveland's position right now, I'm thinking maybe under 193.5. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I could see that. Washington's had those stagnant games offensively. Cleveland, we know, wanting to play better defense as they go into the playoffs. I could definitely see it. We know, Cleveland's had plenty of times this year where their offense has gone stagnant, and they played a lot of games in the 80s this year. So I could definitely see where you're coming from there, Pete.
And then also just want to ask you just an interesting handicapping situation, OKC and Minnesota, right? OKC does need this game. Minnesota is completely decimated in terms of their roster. They got so many guys banged up and out, but OKC needs the game. Now, the line is huge, right? OKC is a road favorite of 14 points. The total is 212. I looked this game. I did bet it. I bet the Minnesota team total under. I got 99.5. But we can only look at a side and a total here. Do you think either one of those is worth taking, OKC minus 14 or the total at 212?
The total seemed high and OKC seemed way too high. Obviously, one of my losses last week was the Pelicans in a very similar situation. And again, they jumped out to that big lead, kind of took the foot off a little bit, flirted around, and the game ended at 12. I could see this being a similar situation. I do think OKC will obviously win this basketball game. 14 is a lot of points. We know the Timberwolves are bad, but they do have some young talent, Zach LaVine, Wiggins. This team has some young guys that can spark at any time. In the end, probably flirts right around that number of 14. the over-under, that's a lot of points. The Timberwolves is not necessarily a scoring machine by any stretch, but if Oklahoma City gets to that 115, 120 mark, which they're capable of doing against a really bad Minnesota team, then you could be in trouble with that.
I hear you, Troy. So let me finalize my picks here. A lot of leans tonight. Troy West, one pick again from allplayswin.com. New Orleans plus 5.5. I'm going to take Portland, Dallas under 208. I'm going to take definitely the Knicks plus 8.5. Orlando plus 8. I'll take it. Yes. Washington, Cleveland under 193.5. I'll take it. Yes. And what do you think about Toronto minus 10? Should I take that one or not?
I would go with it. Absolutely. It's a beautiful day. It's the last NBA card of the regular season, Pete. Why the hell not?
All right, Troy. Wow, you're a good salesman on these things. Maybe you should do some marketing for a sports book. Why the hell not? It's a beautiful day, the last day of the NBA regular season. Fuck it. I'll take it. Toronto minus 10 over Charlotte. So I got 5 picks. Troy West has 1 pick. And I guess that's about it for the NBA regular season. We are going to be previewing the NBA playoffs with Troy West from allplayswin.com. Troy, tell us how things are going at your website. I know you've been killing it in baseball this year so far, right?
We have. We finally had a bad day yesterday with just a really bad beat with the Seattle Mariners losing again 6-5 in the last inning. But overall, it's been a great off start to the baseball season, Pete. Basketball's been outstanding. We're very, very excited, releasing 2 huge NHL bets tomorrow. Really encourage people to come take a look at allplayswin.com. This is a one-stop shop in this industry, Pete. A lot of times these videos, we've got to understand these are leans and opinions. Come take a look at the official website. 9 years in the business. Best customer service there is out there.
All right. Thanks so much, Troy.